Before we start this video, a large thank you to Cleverden, Caden, ZZ, and Amtech for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And an immense thank you to Halo Burner and Dark Matter for their continued support of the channel this month on Patreon. It is greatly appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello guys, real fast before we start the video, I just want to clarify some information. A long time ago, I said it's better to run some things in fixed update, but generally, unless you edit the timescale, fixed update actually runs more than update. So basically, if you want to, you can move this state machine behavior here, unless it contains any interactions with the physics engine, over into update, like so. So TLDR, unless you're messing with the timescale settings, it's better to run the state machine behaviors in update, not fixed update, because it will run less and save you some memory, unless you want it to run more. Hello everybody, today we are going to add in a way to switch your character hair and color. I did this on request of a few people. Now, please note, you can use this or these principles and these concepts with anything else in the body, like skin color or different body parts, like beards, eyelashes, whatever. I'm just going to do hair and hair color because the logic is literally identical for everything else. So let's make a new button for hair over here in the character creation menu. And I'm going to call it hair. Let's go down and you can see here we're choosing to open a menu. So let's go ahead and make an open function for the newly created hair menu. So we have the start game button. We also going to need the hair, our character hair button. So we have the character class, character name. Now we have character hair. Remember, we have to find these other buttons because we need to disable this button too when we open another menu so we can't accidentally click it. So over here on toggle character creation screen main menu buttons, we just want to add our newly created character hair button here. And we're going to say .enabled is equal to the status. So please note too, this might change a little bit depending on how your model is set up. But generally speaking, if your hair has different game objects on your model, you can basically do exactly what I'm doing. So let's make another open function here for the open character hair. But again, if your model is a little bit different, you may have to make some alterations. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message in the comments or in Discord, and I'll do my best to help you out. So open, choose hairstyle submenu. Now let's go ahead and make a game object for the secondary menu. So we had character classes before. This is a menu that pops up in the middle of the screen. Now let's make one for character hair. And I am going to go over here now, and instead of disabling the character class, so it's identical, just change whatever submenu was there before with your new one. And again, instead of checking for character class buttons, we can check for character hair buttons, which we don't have made yet. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make an array right under character class buttons for character hair buttons. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you can basically auto-generate a bunch of buttons and icons depending on how many hairstyles you have. That's what I do in Nephilim. I'm not going to do that though. I'm just going to show you the functionality and set up a few, because these are things you can go above and beyond yourself, and it's a great way to learn. So character hair buttons, just select the first button. So when we open the menu, now let's make one for closing the menu as well. What do we want to do here? Well, we're going to toggle back all of our buttons, the same as we do with every menu, so you can click them again. Then we're going to close the character hair class menu object. So we're going to replace this character class menu with the hair menu, if you're copying and pasting another function, and then select the last selected button, which in our case is going to be the character hair button instead of the character class button. And we can go ahead and fill in some of these variables real soon, but it's going to be pretty basic on how we set this up. We're going to utilize the player network manager. So for now, go to your title screen manager and set the button to open, choose hairstyle menu. All right, let's make the menu. So duplicate the character class menu if you want. I'm going to do it so it keeps the same dimensions and looks kind of uniform and nice. I'm going to change the game object name to character hair menu. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get rid of these class buttons. So I'm also going to come down here and drag in my menu object as a variable and drag in my button object as a variable as well. So opening up now to the newly created menu, we can kind of delete these classes or edit them. I'm going to delete one class. I'm just going to use this other class button and edit it. I'm going to make this the width I think the hair style should be. So maybe 100 by 100. That looks pretty cool. It might increase that a little bit more actually. So let's call this hairstyle. I'm going to put 0 here because it will be hairstyle 0. And I'm going to increase that to 125 by 125. So let's get rid of the text and add an image. So I'm going to yoink these images from Nephilim. This is going to be your hairstyle icon on tick raycast target because we don't need it. I'm just going to drop in the hairstyle that will fit the hairstyle on this button. So I'm just going to use 0, 1, and 2. 0 is going to be bald, 1 is going to be hairstyle 1, and 2 is going to be hairstyle 2. So 0 goes on here because the character is bald. I'm going to change my background here so it's not so hard to see because my icon's more of a white color, and the white background's going to hurt a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to change the normal color here on the button, not on the image. And I'm going to change the highlight color to red to match our other UI. Now, select class and preview class will become select hairstyle and preview hairstyle. So let's copy the select class and preview class functions that we made in the last video, and we can repurpose them, change them a bit, paste them for our new hairstyle. Select class is going to keep an integer still for the class ID, but it's going to be, select hair, but it's going to become hair ID. The same thing with preview hairstyle. It's going to keep that integer value. We're going to use now, though, a hair ID, not going to be called a class ID. And then we're going to also need to keep our fetch that gets our player. And we're not going to check for the starting classes.length because there's always going to be some hairstyles in your game. I'm assuming if you're adding this in anyway. So you can make a check, though, just in case if you want to make sure it's there's something there so you can select something. So I am going to go over here and go to the title screen manager, and then we're going to do select hair and preview hair. And again, these values here, 0 is going to be like your class. 0 is hairstyle 0, 1 is hairstyle 1, etc., etc. So I guess I really need to check for a class too, because if I'm making a class system, every game is going to have some classes, so it's a bit redundant as well. Anyway, moving on. So hairstyle 1, hairstyle 2, and hairstyle 0. And change your icons to fit whatever's happening here. Again, I got these icons made ahead of time in Nephilim. You can make your own. And we're just going to drop those in there like so. Now, we have buttons. We have a way to change our hairstyle with functionality, or at least change the value. Now we need to make it so when we set the value, we're going to set it to the player network manager. And then from there, we need to make it so when that network variable changes, our hairstyle changes. So over on the player network manager, make a new header for body. And copy any int variable you have and change the name to hairstyle ID. So we're going to utilize that fancy, or that really convenient rather, on value changed function with this. And every time we change the function of our hairstyle ID, we're going to call a function that we're going to create in the player body manager. So let's make a public void on hairstyle ID changed. This is going to be on the player network manager once again. We're going to have an integer for the old value and an integer for the new value, or the new ID rather. Now, there's nothing here yet, so let's go ahead and go to the player manager, and then let's call this on network spawn and on network despawn. Make sure you call it outside of the ELDEN check, because we need to call this to say if I change my hair and I'm playing a game with you, I have to update my hair on your game, so make sure that this is being called on both people's games, regardless if you own the object or not. So player network manager, hairstyle ID on value changed plus equals player network manager, and we're going to say on hairstyle ID changed. Now, copy this, go down to on network despawn, do the same thing but unsubscribe. So instead of a plus equals, it is a minus equals. It's going to make again, I made a comment here right over equipment. It's going to be body, because if you're going to add a lot of character customization, you're going to have a lot more of these here in the future. All right, now let's go back to the project, and let's open up the character save data. We should save this too and get ahead of this so we can actually save what hairstyle we have. Add an integer value under your body type or wherever you have stuff stored for int hairstyle ID. And defaultly, I guess you can set it to 0 for ball or whatever. I'm not going to set mine anything. It will still default to 0 though, I believe. So let's save that and go back over to the player manager. Now, under save, let's do a save and load here. So we're obviously just going to save the ID here of our player network manager's hair ID. So I'm going to put this under my stats. We're going to say current character data dot hairstyle ID is equal to player network manager dot hairstyle ID dot value. By the way, I know I'm moving very fast. I've been doing this for a while now, and I have no complaints. So if you guys do find a problem with speed, let me know. I just like getting a lot done in a single video, and this allows me to do so. So now, under load game data, we can do the same thing but reverse. We're going to basically set our player network manager hairstyle value to whatever we have on the current character data hairstyle. So player network manager dot hairstyle equals current character data dot hairstyle. All right, now let's save that. And then go to load other player character. So if someone joins your game, you got to sync all their data. Just call player network manager dot on hairstyle changed, and then it will call that function. Now we have everything set up except for the actual function to set the game object of our hairstyle. So let's go ahead and do that now. I believe we have a player body manager. It's been a while, but I'm 99% sure we do. Yes, we do. Okay, a player body manager. Open that up. Now, we need a couple of things. We have to keep track of every hairstyle you want in the game. So every active one that you want to be able to select, basically. Make a serializable field game object, hair objects array. So it's an array because it's going to be constant. If you want to make it changeable, just make it into a list instead. If you want to add or remove hairstyles in the game, I don't know, maybe you want to do that for some reason, but I'm going to use an array because mine is constant. I'm going to make it private. Doesn't need to be accessed from anywhere else right now. Gonna make a new function here for toggle hair type. And then we're gonna pass an integer for the hair type. Now this is very, very straightforward. So we have an array. The easiest way to do this is to go through each array object first and disable them all. So when you change one hair, the first thing you gotta do is disable your old one. So just disable them all. For every hair object, we're gonna say hair objects I.setActive false. That's it. Now, the very simple thing to do next is to simply set active the one that you want using the integer ID. So we have an array here. You can select an object in an array using int. So enable the chosen hair by saying hair objects, we pass the integer we pass here, dot set active is equal to true. It is just that easy. All right, set active true, save. So I think we can almost test this now. Let's call this toggle hair type on the player network manager. So we're going to say player.player body manager, and then we're going to pass toggle hair type, and we pass the hair type or style.value, or you can pass a new ID if you want. And we save that. Now go into the project here, open our character prefab, and make sure you drag in all the hairstyles you want in the game. I'm going to duplicate hairstyle 1 and make it hairstyle 0, and I'm just going to disable the skin mesh renderer on hairstyle 0, basically just making it so the character will effectively look bald. We're going to disable the render so nothing's there, and now I'm going to lock the inspector here, and I'm going to select 0, 1, and 2, and drag in 0, 1, and 2 under hair objects. Now I'm going to save this prefab, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to disable the character screen here and set up my scene as it was before I started editing things on the character creation menu. So re-enable the title screen menu and re-enable the player UI manager. Now come back over into the title screen, and under select hair and preview hair, we're going to say player.playerNetworkManager.hairstyle.value is equal to the hair ID that we passed. Now do the same thing here under preview hair, and then save this, and I think we're good. So right, choose close character class becomes close choose hairstyle submenu here under select hair. Save that. Go back to the game. Gonna go back to the title screen canvas. Check my variables here, and I need to put in all my hair buttons. Lock the inspector here. Drag in hairstyle 0, 1, and 2, so we can auto select one of those buttons. Unlock the inspector. Save again. Save lots. Go over here now. I'm just gonna get rid of all my character's gear. So every weapon I have in my character prefab, I'm just gonna set to unarmed. I'm also gonna set him up like this so he's not wearing any armor. I'm gonna go back and save this now. Start the game, new game. We're gonna go to hair, and then boom, look at that. There you go. You can switch hairstyles. All right, very cool. So this is a good step, but also we want to change our hair color too. And we can apply that to other things like skin color, beard color, eyelash color, whatever you want, but we want to be able to set colors in some capacity. But this is really cool. So let's go ahead and get that done. Oh, also before I move on too, we can't see our hair with our helmet on, so let's address that first. Let's store the helmet. So go back over here to the title screen manager. We're going to basically unequip our helmet while we're in any menu that allows us to see hair or our face or whatever. So let's make a header here for hidden gear. And I'm going to make a private. Right now, we're just only going to hide the head equipment. If you want to hide other stuff, if you're selecting skin color or something, you can go for that too. So head equipment helmet, I'm going to call this hidden helmet. And this is very straightforward. All we got to do is store this, and then unequip it from the player, and then re-equip it when we close the menu. Super, super straightforward. So just in case some player finds a way to game your game, where you set your character class, just also clear the hidden helmet, because maybe a person could find a way to basically just like store the helmet on one class and then somehow select another class and get a different helmet. It probably won't happen, but just to be safe, I'm just going to make a thing here. When you reset your class, you're also resetting the hidden helmet. So now we could do this. No, we're going to do this on open and close the hair menu is where it makes the most sense. So open, choose hairstyle submenu. First, we want to just basically check if the player is wearing a helmet. So in order to get our player, we're going to use a handy dandy yoink method where we reference our network manager.singleton. Honestly, if you want, you can make this a local variable in the script, or rather a variable in the script instead of calling this every single time in functions, but it doesn't cost much at all, so I'm just going to do that. It's not making a difference. We're going to say if player dot, and then we're going to say player inventory manager dot, is it current? No, it's just head equipment. If head equipment does not equal null, we're going to assign the hidden head equipment as whatever the head equipment was here, but we're going to instantiate a copy of it. So we're going to say hidden head equipment equals instantiate a copy of whatever you were just wearing. And then we're going to set the current head equipment on the player, regardless, to null. And then we're going to load our player's armor again. And remember, if we're not wearing a piece of head equipment, it will just basically take off the helmet and load it as if nothing is there, because nothing is there. So we're going to say player equipment manager dot equip armor. Don't worry about changing your network variable, because again, we're just hiding this to see your hair. we're not actually changing your head equipment. We're just getting rid of the model for now so we can see your face. We're going to put it right back when we're done anyway. So store the helmet the player has equipped. And then we're just going to say unequip the helmet and then just load your armor. So that will just basically make it so your face is naked. Now, go back to close hairstyle submenu and do the reverse. We're going to check if the hidden helmet is not null. We're going to simply set it to the player.player inventory manager's current head equipment. Going to take my player line here, yoink it, so we can get a reference to the player object. But yeah, if the hidden helmet is not null, we're just going to simply assign it to the player inventory as the current helmet we are wearing, and then we're going to simply load our player armor, just like before. So down here, player.player equipment manager.load armor. All right, now this should work as intended. Equip armor, sorry, not load armor. We're going to jump into the game now and just test it to make sure. So let's go back to the project, new game, class, select night. I have helmet on now, cool. Go to my hair, and boom, yeah, the helmet comes off. Now if I select the hair, boom, it goes back on. All right, cool. Very cool, working as intended. All right, now we can move on to the hair color. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we've been doing. So basically, you just want to, again, make a button, and we're going to set up the name, set up the submenus, yada, yada, yada. If you want to pause and try this yourself or fast forward, that's cool, but I'm going to go through it regardless. So open the title screen. We're going to copy the open and close hairstyle submenu. I may do some fancy editing ahead of this now to actually chop some parts out of this, so we're moving a little bit faster just to try to get this video to stay around the 30-minute mark. So open, choose hair color submenu, and close, choose hair color submenu. And again, rename all your variables to the new variables which we don't have yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the names here that I'm going to name them as I breeze through this. And then I am going to go ahead and make those variables. So keep in the bit where you're taking off your helmet, unless you don't want to for some weird reason. But we will also want to see our head whenever we're changing our hair color. So we can use that code that we just wrote there as well. Now I am going to go up here and I am going to make those new variables. So we have character hair button. We can make character hair color button. And likewise, we have character hair buttons. We can make character hair color buttons. And then also, if you're using color for multiple, we can also make the character hair color submenu. So if you're using colors for multiple things, you can actually just keep the color buttons as just their own thing. And depending on what menu you have open, change the color of that specific thing. That's true for Nephilim. So I don't have a bunch of repeat buttons. Basically, I just have one set of color buttons, and they change the color for my skin and my hair and like beard and eyelashes, whatever. So make sure you toggle the enable status of your button. I apparently misspelled my variable names here. I don't know what I was doing here. Whoa. Character color hair button. Character hair color hair button. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing here. All right, those variables are good to go. They are named properly. No more errors. Let's save. Now, select hair and preview hair. It's going to be a little bit different with hair color. We're not going to use an int value. So we have select hair color and preview hair color. When you think about it, a color, to my knowledge, not an expert in color theory or anything, but it's just a combination of 3 colors. It's red, green, and blue. And depending on the values of each of those colors, you make your actual color. So we're going to need to use red, green, and blue. And we're going to basically use those values as floats. And the way we're going to set it up is going to range from 0 to 255. Because that's how the color variable we're using works. So let's go over into the character hair color menu here. Let's make that. Let's copy the old menu, paste it, and instead of hairstyle, I'm going to rename this to hair color. So I'm going to do this 2 ways for you guys. I'm going to give you guys pre-selected color swatches. I think Elden Ring does this too. And also I'm going to let you guys modify the sliders to make a color yourself. So you can make a color using 3 sliders, or you can just select a swatch and that will set the color for you. So I'm going to make this yellow, and by the way, whatever color you set the image on the swatch, that's what color is going to change the hair to, so keep that in mind. Drag in your variables here like so, and again, I did replace the icon on my hair color with just a blank image. It's just a color, as you can see. So you see this right here? It is literally just a color. Now I'm going to resize it a bit. I'm going to add a UI slider, 3 of these to the scene, so red slider, green slider, and blue slider. Before I do that, I'm actually going to give it its own little vertical layout group so it's not blending with the buttons here. Sliders, I'm just going to expand this to about the size of my menu. I'm going to expand a little bit. I'm going to change the height of this later on. Drag in my red slider here, and I'm going to reset it so it is in the center of this, not anchored to the top left because that's weird. Here we go. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to add a vertical layout group to this too because we're going to put 3 sliders in here. It's best to keep it organized. We're going to do it middle center. You can expand the width if you want. It's up to you. So you can put spacing here as well. I'm going to expand the width and height. Just height's what we're going to use. All right, let's duplicate these sliders, but first I'm going to make it so we can tell which one's which. I'm going to make the fill color red. The background color will be black on all of them, just a preference here. You can put it whatever color you want. And the handle will be the color of whatever color. So this one's red, so it's going to be a red handle. Just so I can clearly see what's going on here, I'm going to duplicate this, do the same thing for green. I am going to use a little bit of editing magic here. Boom, there it is. And I'm going to duplicate this. This one is blue. Use a bit of editing magic here, and boom, there it is. So we got red, green, and blue. Going to change the height here of my sliders game object. And now you can see here we have an on-click and event trigger here. So we're not going to do what we normally do. First, let's make a new script called UI color button. So this is going to go on the color button. Let's open this up. Let's delete the start and update functionality and drop our namespace. And again, you can make this so you can literally use these buttons to set the colors for everything. It doesn't have to be just your hair. So you can make it very modular, and you can use it for your hair, your beard, your eyelashes, your skin color. So let's make 3 variables here: red value, green value, and blue value. So now we want to basically get an image, whatever color our image is, and yoink the color values from that image and then assign them to these variables. So we can do that by making a serializable field for image, and we don't have the ability to call that as a variable without using Unity engine.ui, the library up here. And now you'll see this will turn into a variable we can use. Let's call this color image. So again, this is going to be the image you want to yoink the color from. And on awake, we're going to say red value is equal to color image. Whoops, not image, that's my bad. Looking off Nephilim too much. Color image.color.red times 255. And then we're going to do the same thing for green. And we're going to do the same thing for blue. So make sure you say color image.g for green, color image.b for blue. So red value is equal to color image.color.r times 255. And do the same thing for green, but with G, and blue, but with B. And then we're going to say confirm color UI, whoops, not Nephilim, wrong project. It's called title screen manager dot instance dot, and then we're going to close, choose hair color submenu. This is when we confirm the color. And now we went for preview color as well, which we're going to call when we select the button, not when we click it. So we're going to do set slider values to the color, like so. And now we don't have any sliders referenced in the title screen manager yet, so let's go ahead and do that. So under preview hair color here, we can make a function for public void set red color slider. And again, there's no slider that exists yet. This is going to require a float, not an int, my bad, for the red value, or just the value if you want to call it that, because we're going to make this two more functions for green and blue. So let's go up here now and let's put our sliders in somewhere before we go any further. Let's make a header. You can call these color sliders because again, you can reuse these for everything else, not just your hair color. Best off doing that. Serializable field, slider, red slider. If you're not seeing this variable, but you should be, I believe you need to say using Unity engine.ui. But again, I think we've already done that before. Or no, we've already done that before, so you should be seeing this if you're just following the tutorial up to this point. So red slider, green slider, and blue slider. Let's drag those in right now. And take your time because it's easy to drag the wrong one into the wrong slot, and that will be very confusing when you're trying to see why your hair colors are random, different color. Set the max values in all of these to 255. So red, green, and blue, max value 255. All right, red slider, set red color slider. We're going to say red slider.value is equal to the red value that we pass. Do the same thing for our green and our blue. So set green color slider, we're going to pass a green value, and then we're going to say the green slider.value becomes the green value we just passed. See, if I had been smart and named that variable to value, I wouldn't have to rename that. It's one less thing to rename. Anyway, over on the UI color button, set slider values to color. We're going to say title screen manager.instance set red color slider. We're going to pass the red value. We're going to pass green and blue. Look at that editing magic. So you can pause the video if I'm going too fast, but set all your color sliders to the value. Now, drag in your color image here so we can yoink the color from that image that we have and set up your on click and on select functions. So it's going to be, again, confirm color, I called it. And then this was going to be, what did I call this? Set slider values to color for the preview. Now, you can call that preview color if you want to. It might be better to name it that way so it's less confusing and more consistent. I'm going to make 2 more hair colors, one for black hair, and then I'm going to make one for, we'll do like a brownish hair. So we got some blonde, a little bit of brown, and we got black hair, just like that. 3 of the basic hair colors. Now, over here, we're going to do the button hair color to open the hair color submenu. We're going to do that on quick events, set that up. Lock all these hair color buttons, lock your inspector, drag them into your character hair color buttons variable. And I made a mistake here. I wasn't setting my blue value correctly on awake. Going to save that now. Now, if I go over to the project, I'm going to make these hair color icons not quite the size of the hair color parent, so we can see we have them selected. And boom, you can see the color sliders are changing when I go through these. And you can see, I can see the red highlight when I select them because the icon's a little bit smaller. So we have the sliders updating appropriately. Now, go to your body, make 3 variables, hair color red, green, and blue, make them floats. I know I'm going very fast. I'm using the editing here so I can make the video a little bit more short. So make 3 network variables, they're 3 floats, red, green, and blue. Now, over on Player Body Manager, let's make a function for set hair color. And now we're going to make 3 on hair color change. So on hair color red changed, green changed, and blue changed. And whenever you change these, just set hair color from the Player Body Manager. Now let's call these on network spawn and on network despawn. We're going to do our on value changed. So hair color blue, hair color red, hair color green, on value changed, set it all up. Editing magic, and fast forward now. Now if you want to, you can only do just one function. It could be on hair color changed whenever you change any of these colors. I'm going to do 3, red, green, and blue, in case you want to do some other logic in between there as well. So on network despawn, do the same thing, paste all 3 of these functions, but use minus instead of plus. So whenever we change any of these hair colors, we're calling the change hair color function on our Player Body Manager. Now under character save data, make 3 float variables here to save your hair color red, green, and blue, just like so. Now over here under save, do the same thing, save these values. Hair color red gets saved from player network manager.haircolorred.value, green from green, and blue from blue. And do the same thing now, but load them. So in reverse, let's go down here. And when we load our hair color, we're simply going to say player network manager.haircolorred is equal to character data.haircolorred. Do the same thing for green, and then the same thing for blue. So we're just taking the values that we stored and we're loading them. Now, when you load other characters in your game, you want to call on hair color changed. If you're using one function, just call on hair color changed. If you're doing one for each color, like I'm doing, just in case you want to do something different between each of those, go ahead and call them all right now and reference the hair color value specifically, hair color red, hair color green, and hair color blue. Now save that. All you got to do here is set the material to the new color that we just made. So if you're using a Cinti model like me, you might have an actual hair color variable on your material. Or you might just have a raw color if you're just setting it using a regular material. Either will work, it doesn't matter. If you're using a smart material, or I call it smart material, a material with multiple variables, you have to find the variable name. So I'll show you how to do that. So color 32, hair color, let's make that hair color variable. Let's set the color 32 using bytes. So byte red is equal to player network manager, get the red value, byte blue and green. And then you can see here I have underscore set hair color on the material set color. Why am I doing that? Well, if we jump over to the project and I go to my hair and go to the material here, you can see I'm using a Cinti model. You can see it's color hair right here. And this is actually used inside of a shader. And the shader's variable name for hair color is underscore color underscore hair. So you might want to check for null here too. So check to see if the skin mesh renderer is not equal null. If it's not null, then we're going to use it. And we're just going to set the hair color. So we're getting a skin mesh renderer by going the hair objects i.getComponent skin mesh renderer. And again, if you're using a regular material, this will be even easier for you. You just got to do set color and then you pass the color. Now under select hair color, we're going to do player.player network manager. And then we're going to pass here hair color red by saying hair color red.value is equal to red slider. And then do the same thing for green and blue. So we're just setting our network variables to the hair color, do the same thing on preview hair color. Now we save that. Go back over here under set slider values to color. We're going to call title screen manager.instance.preview hair color. And then we save that. Now if we go back to the game, I'm going to set my hair color and there it is. You can see I can change it from blonde to black to brown and I can use the sliders to manipulate the hair color. So one last thing, I didn't actually make it so I could use the sliders yet. Let's go ahead and do that. Select all your sliders here, go to the title screen, and on value change, just click preview hair color. So select all your sliders, do on value changed, and just preview hair color, and now we can change them with the sliders. There we go. So you have a way now to basically change your hairstyle to any color you want. So I know that this will be a little bit more confusing for those of you who aren't using a Cinti model perhaps, and you're very new to this, but basically, if you get lost, just let me know. All you got to do is reference the material and change the color of it. And if you're using some kind of other character that you bought in the asset store or someone's made for you, you want to, and they have a material like Cinti where there's multiple variables. You have like skin color, hair color, whatever. You want to go into the shader and check what the variable name is for hair color, and just use that. Like under mine, it was underscore color underscore hair, and set that like so. So again, if you have any confusion, let me know in the comments or come to my Discord, use the Ask for Help channel. We can help you figure it out. As always, guys, an immense thank you to my patrons. Is because of each and every one of you, past and present and future. This series has continued and will continue. And a thank you to everyone who likes the videos and comments and takes the time to do that. It helps a lot. You have no idea how much. I appreciate all of you. I hope you learned something today. And I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. And unless you guys want to see something else in the character creation menu, let it be known now. Next week, I'm going to move on to level design and optimization of medium to larger size scenes. All right, guys. See you next time.